it's time to hit the racetrack, so hopefully you've got a bit of racing fever. This is one of 13 games to release onto the Evercade, bundled up in the second collection cartridge that's been brought to us by Piko Interactive. If you're unfamiliar with Piko Interactive, they essentially buy the rights to dead or dormant IPs and then they re-release the games, usually with their former branding all stripped out. You can get some examples on this very cartridge where Barclay's Shut Up and Jam becomes Hoops Shut Up and Jam, or where Top Gear 2 becomes Top Racer 2. Those titles were big hits in the early 1990s, but Racing Fever perhaps not so much, so where does this game come from? Originally released in 2005, this title was developed by Nap's team and published by Neko Entertainment for the Game Boy Advance. There's not much information about this game available online, but from what I could gather, it only seemed to get a release in Europe. I've played it for a bit, and yeah, it's okay. Not really anything more, not really anything less. It's pretty middle of the, well, road. Once you hit the main menu, you have a choice of what vehicle you'd like to use along with what colour you want to have it in. There's 6 vehicles to choose from, and each vehicle has different stats based off either their acceleration, their total speed, or the amount of grip they'll have on the racetrack. When scrolling through them, you'll naturally want to choose the Ladybug car, as this is the one with the stats which appear to blow the other cars out of the water. Time to get into the driving, and this is a top-down racer with 4 cars battling it out in each race. The actual racing itself is rather fun, and when playing you can tell this game has been influenced by Galco's 90s arcade title World Rally. I've reviewed that one from Galco's first Evercade arcade collection, and I'll put a link to it below. But essentially, in both games, the cars tend to snap back onto the track as you throw them around the corners. It kind of makes them feel a bit like a Scalextric's car as it tries to assist you on the corners and snap you back into place so you don't just hit the walls and come to a complete stop. Now I will say that it tries to assist you with that, but depending on your car's grip or just how fast you're going, it's inevitable you're going to get stuck on the walls some of the time. The first few tracks are easy enough, but things do get tougher as you go on with more twists and turns coming at you. Now this game is rather bare bones when it comes to what's on offer. Like I've said, you pick your car and then it's literally just onto track number 1. There's no championship mode or season mode or choosing a particular amount of races to play or how many races to play against. There's not even a time trial mode, which I always thought was the base level of a mode to include in any racing game ever made. I mean, there's always a time trial mode. But not here, so you head straight onto track 1, and then from there you just keep advancing through the races until you finish them all. This is a Game Boy Advance game, so I think the developers were going for a quick pick up and play style as if it was an arcade game. And the lack of information out there on this one, along with the 2005 release year, makes me think this was probably a budget title on its release, so there's not a lot of bells and whistles included. Still, it definitely would have been a positive if they included some more modes and options and really fleshed the style out a bit more. Like I say, as it is, it's a bit bare bones. The background settings will change as you work your way through the tracks. Every 2 races you'll get things mixing up, whether you'll be on a desert course, a snowy course, going through a marina. There's some decent variety here and it does keep things interesting. One unique point to touch on is that despite it feeling sometimes like you're doing laps on these courses, you're actually not. The courses have checkpoints for you to go through, and the courses don't end up looping around on themselves by the time that you've completed them. This may be the reason why there's no little mini-map or a HUD of the track on screen for you to use, which is something I was longing for at points when struggling to know what corner or obstacle I was about to be faced with. Another slightly strange feature of this game is that your place in the race doesn't update until you reach one of those checkpoints. This caught me out a bunch of times at the beginning, where I'd actually been first place, but it said I was in 3rd beforehand, and so on. You've just got to wait for the checkpoints for it to update. It's a little bit strange. During the races, you also don't need to come first place to succeed. The top 2 out of the 4 races go through to the next contest, and since there's no overall points or standings included in this game, second will do just as well as first. It's features like this make me feel the game isn't quite complete, or was rushed out the door to release, or something along those lines. The overall gameplay is pretty good. It does get harder as it goes on, and some getting used to the tracks is necessary to make sure you don't crash too often. Saying that though, some guidance arrows like you get in rally games would have been really useful here, especially in the later levels. Considering this is a GBA release, I think the graphics are pretty nice. They're not revolutionary by any means, but they're bright and colourful and easy on the eyes. There's not much on offer here in terms of sound. There's just one track that plays on a loop in the background while you drive around. But I understand your personal taste will decide this one, and just having the one track is potentially going to be make or break on the music front. Time to sum things up now, and I think I'm going to give Racing Fever a 5 out of 10. Go down the middle of the road with this one. The gameplay itself is quite fun, the graphics and sound are simple, but I think they're both nice and they do the job okay enough. The tracks are well made, and the different settings keep things interesting. On the other side of the coin though, there's definite room for improvement with the lack of game modes or options that have been included, and they definitely could have put in some more extra help when it comes to cornering, either through an outline of the course or some arrows for guidance. I wouldn't recommend that you buy this cartridge based off of Racing Fever in particular, but it's definitely worthy of a play if you do already have this one or if you're thinking about getting it, even if only for a quick 15 to 20 minute bash or what have you. Well, thank you for joining me for this review of this obscure little racer. If you have enjoyed it, please drop me a little like or perhaps consider subscribing to the channel, as there's going to be more Evercade game reviews on the horizon. Until I see you again, take it easy.